What's up, Shady Sports Network? I'm back here with a very special guest, someone I consider a future IFL Hall of Famer, Jimmy Camacho. Jimmy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's get right into it. Yesterday, I was watching your video on TikTok, and you were talking about how you find a good kicking coach, and so do you have to necessarily play football to be a coach? Or, could I be a coach because I watch a lot of football?
It just depends. It just depends. I've seen some coaches do well that never played, but I think specifically, we're talking you want a kicking coach, you're gonna be hard time to find a kicking coach that never kicked. But that doesn't mean that you can't have an offense coordinator that never played quarterback or anything like that. I don't doubt that. I mean, football is a pretty objective, logistics based sport game. So I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't say necessarily. I would say specifically for what I was talking about in that video that you're referring to. I would say you'd have a hard time finding somebody that never played though.
One of my favorite videos that you did is where you called out one of the haters, and you were like, "Oh, I'll fly you out for $10,000 and I'll beat you in anything," which I think is so true because it shows the difference from an athlete and a regular person, how the gap is so big.
I mean, I think that the term regular person is thrown out there a lot, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just regular people who are extraordinary at maybe one or two things, just like anybody else who we would call a quote unquote regular person. Because there's regular people out there that are way better at me at some stuff. You know what I mean? So, uh, I would say, some of us are. I would say one thing about maybe being an athlete is that I know a lot of athletes that are good at a lot of different sports because they have good hand-eye coordination. So yeah, I don't know. It just depends. Everybody's good at something. I'm sure there's probably some things that you're better than me at, but I'd say everybody's regular at some things, and everybody's probably extraordinary at some things. You're probably a lot better than me at making podcasts. It's just truth. So in the podcast world, I'm a regular person.
I think that's a great point that you brought up. Everyone has their own skill set and they have their own craft per se. So you're from California, which is where you have so many legends. Eazy-E, Kobe Bryant. What's one legend that you kind of look up to from California?
I'm pretty sure Kobe's from Philly, but
I just remember that. Yeah, so you can kind of give him he's from LA because he played there. You know what I'm saying? I get what you mean though.
No, I mean Kobe's great. But I would say you're talking Cali legends out here. You gotta throw Nipsey Hussle in there, especially for my generation. I would say my generation grew up. Well, I don't want to say grew up with, but we came into adulthood with Nipsey Hussle.
Do you think Nipsey Hussle, his flow, what artist would you kind of compare him to nowadays?
There's no comparison for Nipsey Hussle, if I'm being honest, because he was a trailblazer in the sense because he sparked my brain for entrepreneurship, and I didn't even realize it at the time. What he was talking about, I didn't. It wasn't until later that I started really diving into kind of his discography and his lyrics, and his message of equity and entrepreneurship and just the mindset too. I think he promotes such a powerful mindset that there is no comparison for Nipsey Hussle, and if I'm being honest.
I can agree with that. I think he's a trailblazer, in his own right. So you talk about content, and you were mentioning that there's a science behind your content, and I'm really interested to hear how do you go about that.
Sure. Well, everything is, you just got to be cognizant of that algorithm. And I only make TikTok. I don't really post on Instagram. I mean, I have my business Instagram, but I don't post. I mean, I don't post a ton on there. But like the TikTok algorithm is just so explosive. To where like if you're wording things a certain way or if you're doing certain things, which over the years I've kind of gotten a grasp for how to make viral content. Um, it's because it's definitely a science, and it doesn't always work, but I don't know. I just like caught on to some random niches. Obviously, like the field goal kicking niche was something that um, I was into for a while, but now that I haven't been kicking as much, it's harder for me to post content on that. You know, I see a lot of active kickers who are playing in college or playing professionally that are able to kind of dominate that niche a little bit more. So I'm currently moving into a little bit of a different niche. Of just like making random equipment reviews, which I don't know if you've seen or whatnot, but I just like make random reviews on cleats or, you know, these are the top 5 helmets or whatever. Like I'm thinking that I want to move into that niche a little bit more. And I'm not even like super passionate about that niche necessarily, but it's what is creating clicks for my page. So if I want to make content, I have no choice but to give the viewers what they want.
I see that. I mean, I like the top 5 videos a lot. You know, kind of it gives me an idea like what my players wear, different things like that. But my favorite videos personally are like the arena football stories. And one thing that I took away, you said 15 to 20% of every team or every league in the league have players that you think can, play at the next level, right? And then the other kind of I think you said 20%. It's kind of just like there because they're there. If you know what I mean?
Um, I'll say this: like it's how do I explain this? I would say there's a lot of players in the IFL that are like maybe like talented enough. That I don't think that that's the issue because there's a lot of talented guys, but there's a lot more that goes into um and like there's certain characteristics that will make you successful in the IFL versus certain characteristics that will make you successful in an outdoor league. And some players may gravitate more towards arena football than they gravitate. Like some players might just be better at that game than they are at. Like I know a lot of guys that are probably like there's a lot of guys maybe like in the CFL or like in the XFL or even in the NFL that may not be a good fit for arena football. And conversely, there's a lot of guys that are phenomenal arena football players that may not match onto an 11-man football roster because they maybe don't have certain skills in their tool set or in their in their repertoire. So it's just because you're good in outdoor doesn't mean you're going to be good in indoor, and just because and vice versa. So and conversely, with that being said, um there's just there's some guys that are playing IFL that are not playing NFL or that are not playing in a higher league. Um, Not because they're not talented enough, but maybe because I don't know, like they had some sort of I don't know, like maybe they're not disciplined enough, or maybe they're not, and that's an unfortunate reality. And I don't want to say any names or any. I'm not definitely not going to throw anybody under the bus, but that's just one thing that I've noticed. I'm like, dang, this guy's really good, but he just doesn't practice hard enough to play in a higher league, or this guy's really talented, or but maybe they're just there's just something about them that is ruling them out from playing in a higher league.
I feel like you see that a lot. I feel like there's so many players in the IFL and across arena football that have a talent. I feel like NFL level talent that they could play in the NFL if they were just, more disciplined, more locked in, showing up to meetings on time, practice. What has your experience been with that? Because I know you played for all types of organizations. You played with the Arizona Rattlers, you played with the Pirates, you played almost like a lot of places. So, what have you seen from players, and what are times that have worked and times that haven't for you in your career?
I really like playing for the Sugar Skulls. I think the Sugar Skulls are great, and also like with that being said, um, I mean the Rattlers are great too. I play for a couple different clubs, but your representation matters. Like your network of because like when I just kind of happened to be surrounded with the right people at the right time to get some of the opportunities that I got. Um, So, first and foremost, if you want to get out and you want to go and play for a higher league, there has to be something about you that is standing out. There has to be because nobody's perfect, but there has to be something about you that is different than the next guy. So if you're playing in the IFL and you're just kind of like not really standing out, or you're just kind of you got to be making plays. There has to be something about you that is special that is gonna call that's gonna call attention to you. So some guys who really stood out that I've played with in the IFL, Devontae Merriweather. That guy is a freaking dude, and he actually spent some time in the CFL. Nick Diavanzo as well. He's a guy who got an opportunity. Um, I know Josh Gable had a handful of opportunities. He's a guy whose game I really respect. I think he's a guy who has gotten it done very consistently throughout the history of the IFL, and he's played a lot more games than I ever did. So for him to have the success that he's had, and had the opportunities that he's had, I think it's only a matter of time before he cashes in on one. But I'm trying to think of guys who had got opportunities. Because there's not a ton. I know Lucas Dennis. He's in the NFL. He's going to an NFL training camp. That was my guy. And there's a ton of guys from the Mass Pirates actually that got opportunities to go out and play. So there's a lot of talented guys, man. There's just not as many opportunities as there are talented guys. I will say that.
I agree with that. I mean, now there's all these like leagues popping up, and we don't really know other outside of the XFL, CFL, USFL, and the NFL. All the others are, I don't want to say unlegit opportunities, because an opportunity is an opportunity, but more unestablished, if you know what I mean. And so I think it's important for players to be wary, before they go sign somewhere, especially overseas, right? Because I've heard a lot of different things about the European League of Football, the LFA, and now they just have they have a league down in Poland now, like all these new leagues popping up. So it's really important. So you're a guy who have played overseas with the CFL, with the BC Lions, and what's impressive to me is you were able to stay on that roster for 3 years. That for a guy coming to the IFL to want to CFL, a lot of guys go and they don't stick. But I felt like you were able to stick and get a game time. What do you think worked so well to prompt you to CFL success?
Um, Honestly, playing in the IFL really had a lot to do with that because I had already had like outdoor football experience, like I know that there's a handful of guys in the IFL who played like college outdoor Division 1 for my position. I think the IFL just really helped me kind of solidify my accuracy, which is something that I needed to work on coming out of college. And I wasn't terrible coming out of college, but I wasn't quite good enough yet to where I knew how to practice, and I knew honestly the Rattlers really did a number on me because they taught me how to practice. They taught me that you got to bring your lunch pail to practice every day. They always talk about the Rattler way over there, and to this day, I think the Rattlers formula for winning games and for practicing and for recruiting guys and for creating championship culture is one of the best cultures that I've ever been a part of. Actually, I probably go on record and say that's the best culture that I've ever been a part of. And people will hate on them. People always hate on the Rattlers. And I wear that Rattler, like that Rattler alumni stamp. I wear that very proudly because they taught me how to be a pro. And, people are going to hate on the Rattlers. Everyone loves to hate the Rattlers. But the reality is the Rattlers coach it right, the Rattlers recruit properly, and the Rattlers take care of their players. So if people want to hate on that, then I have no issue with that. But they taught me how to be a pro. So I would say I took a lot of information that I learned in that Rattlers locker room and applied it to when I went to the CFL in 2019, and was able to sustain some success. And had I not gotten hurt, I probably, maybe could have sustained a little bit more. But I would say a lot of what I learned in that locker room applies to being a pro at any level.
What was your relationship with Coach Kevin Guy like?
I love Kevin Guy. Kevin Guy. When I was playing for him, it's funny because when I was playing for him, he like never really said anything to me. I think a couple of times during the season, he would be like, "Hey Jimmy, what's up, man?" I would say like I could count on one hand the amount of times that Kevin Guy talked to me. But after I left, we like I don't know. It's almost like I was his freaking like I was his nephew or something like that. Our relationship changed because he knew that I don't know. We kind of had a mutual understanding of like, he knew that I came in and I was able to help him sustain success and be great in moments where he needed it for Tucson as well. Because as you know, Kevin Guy, he's the owner of Tucson. So when I went and played for Tucson, those were some of the very best games I ever played in my life. I you know it was cool because Tucson like they kind of let me um I don't want to say they kind of let me like they kind of let me coach my own unit, which was really conducive for success for me because I was able to quarterback some of those special teams units and say, "Hey, this is how we need to coach it because this is the right way to do it." And they're like, "Okay, we'll coach it this way," and we were able to sustain success because there was a mutual understanding between coaches, players, and ultimately ownership between Kevin Guy. But I love Kevin Guy. I love Jarnigan. To this day, I still stay in touch with them, and um, you know, I think they texted me the other day asking me if I'm going to be ready for the playoffs, but just kind of shrugged that off. I'm not really too interested in playing this year, honestly. Mostly focused on business, but
So, one thing I find really interesting because they're a very established kicker. From Arizona, you hit 13 extra points in a row, which is insane. I mean, that's if how is that possible to hit that many extra points in a row?
well, we scored a lot of touchdowns. I think that's how they made that possible for me.
Too, but like mentally, like to go through that.
Uh I did struggle that season. Like I went through a stretch where I struggled too. Like I had some good games, but like I went through like a few game stretch where I was like, I didn't even know if I wanted to keep playing. I thought I was gonna get cut at one point because the expectations for the Rattlers are very high. So at one point I had like missed a handful of extra points. I think I missed like two extra points in back to back games. So I missed two against like I missed three against Cedar Rapids, then I missed two against Sioux Falls or something like that. Like I had a bad stretch during that season. Not a super long stretch, but I had a stretch of games where I struggled. And what actually helped me out was they actually brought a different kicker during the season to come and take my job. And he didn't take it. I actually beat him out during practice. Um, but during the course of that competition, I learned some things from the kicker that they brought because the kicker that they brought was like, oh, I do this and I do that, or I do a couple things here and there. And I was like, okay, well, like I'm gonna steal that from you, and that helped me sustain success for the rest of the season. I think after that stretch, I maintained like probably in the high 90s percentage wise for extra points. So the best thing that could have happened to me is them trying to replace me. So that is how I, kind of sustained some success. And then, yeah, I did hit the 13 extra points in that one game, which was, it just requires a lot of focus. You got to be locked in for, for I'll, it's like shooting free throws. It's not hard, but if you're not locked in, you might miss.
Shooting free throws is so different. I feel like, in my opinion, kicking extra points is harder than shooting free throws because, like, I played basketball and I couldn't imagine, like, those uprights are so, like, compact almost. It seems so much harder.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with the other seven guys on the unit too. Like it's hard to sustain success if the other seven guys on the unit are not doing it right, or not doing their job or whatever. So I give credit to the guys up front, who are blocking and the snapping and holding, because the snapping and holding is not like in the NFL where you're able to hire a guy to just snap and just hold. You got a guy snapping and holding. I know we had a guy, Jared Harrington, who was a holder, and this guy never came off the field. He was like doing fly sweeps on offense, kick return, punt return, kickoff, and then he would be out of breath by the time he had to hold for the field goal. And I was like, hey, I know you just scored a touchdown. Relax, relax. Let's lock in and let's kick this extra point because we need it. And I need you to lock in. I would tell him that every time he went out there, because he was just a very intense guy. I know you know Jared Harrington, but yeah, and he's a guy who scores touchdowns. So Jared Harrington, he's a jack of all trades. Love that guy.
He's been awesome this year for Quad City, going to a new team this first year, after being with Arizona all those years. So you talk about business, right? I want to put your business on a little bit. I love what you guys do down there. What made you start that, and how has it grown over the years?
Well, I started this business last year. So I run a mobile cryotherapy unit. We run a corporate partnership with the Strike Force. So me and my staff, we pretty much just so it's cold therapy. So we run a unit where it's for pain management and fast recovery for the players. So we pretty much run our equipment over there, and we kind of help players with injuries and soreness. It's pretty cool. The players like it. So we're working on a deal for next year. So I know they got bounced out of the playoffs, but I'm hoping that next year they can put some pieces together, because obviously them winning is going to be conducive for success of my brand as well.
So next year, the elephant in the room, the AFL announced it's coming back.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, and what teams do you think we might see in the AFL?
I have no idea. I don't know anybody who's in those operations. I know they said the Albany Empire. I think Antonio Brown had said something about the Albany Empire going back. But I truly I haven't the slightest clue. I mean, there's a few things that you got to look at is what are they paying? I'm not really sure. Do you know?
The pay, from the math I did, I got $28,000 a season per player.
What does that equate to per game? Do you know?
I want to say that equates to $2,800 per game.
It's
So
10 games.
yeah.
No, we'll have to see when the schedule comes out and all that, and the contracts come out. But truly, I don't know much about the AFL. But I know when I was coming out of the Rattlers, the Philly Soul was recruiting me for a little bit. So I don't know if they would come back. I don't know if new teams are going to come back. I'd be interested in playing if I could get healthy, by the spring next year. But we'll see. I'm not really sure. I don't know a ton about it, but more football, more higher paying football is always good for me, and for other guys like me.
So I agree with you. I mean, I think $2,800 a game. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's better than, comparatively speaking, than what's going on right now. And I think that would,
I'll play. I'll play for 2,800 if that's what it is. I will play.
that's great. That's great for the sport. That would attract a lot more higher level talent. I feel like. Um,
Sure, yeah. And so, I don't know if some IFL teams are going to jump ship and go. Um, yeah, I don't know. I would not be surprised if some of these IFL organizations jump ship and go to the AFL. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't, like I said, I have no knowledge on any of that.
Man, I feel like I know what's going on, but I have no. They have been so. I know what's going on with the game, like the indoor arena game, but I have no idea what's going on with the AFL either. They have been so quiet. They don't post anything on Twitter. No one posts anything. And if anyone like talks about the AFL, they just deny that they're going, which it's kind of interesting. Even though they start following the teams on Twitter and liking their posts and all that, so it's kind of the only information I get is going through the AFL's Twitter likes and seeing
Sure.
like. But one thing I find really interesting that you do is, you're a former pro, you're thinking about coming back. You run kicking like workouts with kickers, and one thing that really stood out to me is the prices are very affordable. I feel like $25 to train with a pro kicker is really really good. What made you want to give back to your community so much?
Well, like when I was coming out, I didn't have a kicking coach. Kicking is expensive. Like I never went to a camp. I just taught myself. So I'm sure there's a couple of young pups out here that I've been working with that probably maybe can't afford it. Um, and uh, and it's, I mean, honestly, I don't even, I don't know. I just coach. I don't even like have a, I don't know. I don't even coach full time. Like I don't like go actively seeking people to coach, but people will come to me on social media and ask me things, obviously because of my, my TikTok or whatever, like my resume, my career. People will come and ask me certain things, and I'm like, man, like, what if this kid is good? Like, I'm just gonna turn him away because it is business. Over here, there's a lot of kicking coaches that are charging an arm and a leg that don't even I don't know. I don't want to say don't coach it right, but don't coach it the way that I would coach it. I'll say. So I don't know. I just enjoy seeing people develop and get opportunities. Because I mean, obviously, if I can coach and do it full time and make a ton of money, that would be awesome. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but um, seeing guys get opportunities and blossom into guys who can get it done at the next level is the ultimate level of satisfaction for me. And I don't coach guys because I could go to like Orange County or like, I could go to, North Hollywood and find some kids who want to kick and charge them $150 an hour to do it. But I don't know. That doesn't really like, it doesn't create a ton of satisfaction for me to do that. It creates more satisfaction for me to find guys who are hungry and talented and just give them little nuggets of information, even if I'm not working with them every day, but just offering little bits and pieces here and there, and then seeing them get opportunities at the next level is ultimately um, what gets me out of bed in the morning to do that.
That's amazing. It shows that you care for the youth and you want to see them. You actually want to see them grow, and I think we need more of that. We have a lot of people nowadays that are just in it for the money, not in it for the actual success of kids. Um, so my kind of final couple questions here for you, for touching on your college career a little bit. I know you post videos talking about NAIA and JUCO and stuff. Do you have any experiences with that, and how was your college career as a whole?
Well, I played at Riverside City College. I had like no recruiting buzz coming out of high school. I just wasn't in the right spot. Like I was okay. Like honestly, like if I would have knew more, I probably could have went D1 out of high school. Because I when I I wasn't even the starting field goal kicker in my high school. We had another kid who was a starting field goal kicker in my high school. I was not even. A lot of people don't know that I didn't start, but I did kickoffs. So when I was in high school, my coaches were always like, just focus on kickoff, and we'll find you like a D3 scholarship, or like we'll try to find you some NAIA stuff. And I was like, what the hell, like. I was not having that, and there's nothing wrong with D3 or D2 or NAIA. Like, I'm just saying, like, I had bigger goals in mind for myself. So, and my high school coaches, they didn't see me as a prospect, which is understandable. I wasn't good enough yet. So I'm sure they still do this, but like I went on I just went on I just Googled the email for every special teams coordinator in the nation for D1 AA and Division One FBS. I actually, mind you, I wasn't the starter, but I had a good boot. Like I could kick the ball out of the back of the end zone on kickoff. So with with the thousands of emails that I sent, I got one D1 coach to come and see me, and it was East Carolina. I'll never forget that. And I kicked so bad the day that that guy came. They came to my junior college to watch me, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. So then I played the season at Riverside City College. I got up every single day to to train and to get bigger and to get stronger and to get more accurate. And I ended up having a good season in JUCO. And then went to Fresno. I got offered by Fresno State. Got offered by a couple other schools as well. I picked up an offer from Arizona State. I picked up an offer from Texas Southern, HBCU. But I didn't actually start my first 2 years at Fresno State, which was frustrating. But it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things where, like, back in the day, like I was complaining that it was political and it was which to an extent maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but at the end of the day, dude, if you're not head and shoulders better than the guy that's the starter or the returning starter, they're probably not going to have a reason to move you into the starting role. So it wasn't until my senior year because we had a guy that was pretty serviceable. Cody, his name was Cody Croning. Really consistent. Not crazy talented, but was getting it done in the games. And my senior year, we got a new coach. And mind you, I was riding the bench for 2 years. And then my senior year, we get a new coach. And I don't know if things kind of fell into place because Cody, he had a hernia surgery during spring ball, and that was really kind of affecting him, and he wasn't the same. And during that course of time, I was working really hard to try to get the starting job, and he, I don't want to say he kind of had like a breakdown in training camp, but he was struggling, and I took advantage and ran with the job.
And then after that, how did your career go as a whole at Fresno?
Well, I started 1 year. So I started 1 year. I don't even want say. I mean, my first year, I kicked like 4 field goals. I wasn't the starter. My second year, I didn't kick any field goals. I just did kickoffs for like 6 or 7 games. And then my senior year, I took every rep, which is kind of an odd story. But I think I could have done better. I think if I would have known what I know now, I would have been a lot better. But all things considered, I think I did pretty good.
You still were one of the 3% of athletes or football players that can say that they played pro. So I think that's a huge accomplishment.
3%. That sounds like a lot. I don't know if.
No, that's pretty good. I think if you look at everyone and you look at all the athletes now in the system, a lot of Division One guys honestly, it may sound crazy, but they can't even get on IFL rosters. I've seen like all conference guys get cut. I've seen first round picks get cut, and you look at right now in the IFL, there's 3 former first round picks in the league, and they're all not like living up to anywhere near how I thought they would do.
Who are they?
Robert Kimbichi.
Robert Kimbichi's in the IFL.
Yeah, he's with
Who's he with?
The Vegas Nighthawks.
He's with the Vegas Nighthawks. I did not know that.
And then Matt Elam, obviously one of your former teammates.
Where's he with?
Vegas.
Oh, he's with Vegas. Who else?
And then not a former first round pick, but I like to say he played up to a first round pick standard. I mean, Darius Geis was on Vegas.
Right? Oh, Darius Geis. Oh yeah, he was. Or is he still there?
No, he got cut.
He's probably. I mean, he's as good. He wasn't first round. What was he? Second round?
Second round, yeah, but.
Okay, well, I mean, he's an NFL guy.
I'm hoping in a couple years we get Henry Ruggs down here. Honestly.
And that guy's not going to see the outside of a jail cell, I don't think. Is he? I don't know.
No, he got 3 to 10 years, I think.
Sure, yeah, no. I mean, that guy's, hopefully, I don't know. I wish the best for him, but yeah, that guy's locked up. But, yeah, Robert Kimdichi, I played against him in college. He was an animal.
He was really good at Ole Miss. But I think it's all about, taking advantage of the opportunity that you have and not, I think a lot of guys now, they don't take full advantage of that opportunity. So it's important to seize it. And, like, you seized their opportunity, you know what I mean? And so we need more guys like that.
Well, like I talked about earlier, just because you're a guy who's effective in 11-man football does not always mean that you're going to be effective in arena football. Like a guy like Robert Kimdichi, that guy can do everything. That guy is physically NFL caliber talent, for sure. But you never know how guys are, you never know how guys are fitting into a certain scheme, or maybe they don't like the play calls, or, maybe they're, you never know. So if guys aren't living up to expectation, you got to look at the bigger picture here. Vegas, I don't know what their situation is. From what I understand, they haven't won a ton of games. So same with like Darius Geis, I don't know. I don't know how the offensive line is. I don't know how the play calling is. That team has not had success. If you put Darius Geis on the Rattlers, maybe he does something different. If you put a guy like, you put Robert Kimdichi on the freaking Bay Area Panthers, maybe it's a different story. But the reality is Vegas has done poorly this year. I don't know what the circumstances are over there, but the reality is you just don't really know. You got to look at the football is a team game. So if you're not looking at the totality of the circumstances and just, saying, oh, that guy is not doing, it's hard for me to make an assessment on just one guy, because a guy like Kimdichi, he's a beast. So I don't know.
For sure, no, definitely it's an adjustment, and like you said, scheme. Right now and currently, who are some of your? I'm gonna say your top 3 kickers in the IFL. Are some of your favorite kickers to watch?
Well, let's look at the numbers here. I know I like Gable. Gable gets it done. Let's just look at the, because I got to look at I don't watch every game. So I got to kind of take a look at the numbers here just to make a fair assessment. Because if there's somebody, I don't want to leave somebody out. Somebody who's doing really well right now is Connor Mangan. That guy is he came in middle of the season and he looks good, man. Like I actually saw him at halftime when they played San Diego. I just want to give a shout out to him, dude. He's doing really well. Like if I'm a GM in the IFL, I'm thinking about picking up the phone and calling him for next season if he doesn't come back to Naz. Let me see here. Schedule 2023 stats. Who else is making some noise? Let's see. Field goals. Bryce Crawford has sustained success. He's been an IFL guy for a while now. Let's see. Who's a field goal percentage leader? Oh, Connor Mangan. Like I didn't even look at the stat sheet, and he's field goal percentage leader right now. So Michael Hall, 60%. Is he still with the Sugar Skulls right now? I haven't watched any of their games.
Michael Hall has took a complete turn since his time in Albany.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So Michael Hall, I know that guy works really hard. I'm glad to see that he's doing well. I'm just like kind of looking at these numbers here. Just so I can, I don't want to leave anybody out. Just want to give everybody a fair assessment. Okay, so we're looking at field goal percentage leaders here. You got Connor Mangan at 71%. That's very impressive. I am very impressed with that. Do we have a point? Do we have extra point numbers here? Michael Hall, 60%. That's pretty good. 3 for 5. I mean, small sample size, but if we look at the guys with the larger sample size, Bryce Crawford, 11 for 19. I think that's a respectable figure for sure. Do we have anybody who's made some long ones? Nick Jaworski, 50-yard field goal. 1 for 6, though. Who else? 48-yard field goal. Let me see. I would say aside from Connor Mangan, not a ton of super impressive numbers, not a ton of 50-yard field goals. Let's look at the extra point figures. We'll have to look at team stats, conversions, first downs, kicking, field goals. Pirates 9 for 20. They kick a lot of long field goals though.
They do.
PAT Sugar Skulls. Okay, so Michael Hall's done well, 91%. That's very, very impressive. And then he's the only one. He's the only one in 90% figures. So I would say everybody else kind of, I don't want to say okay. Lacayo's been making a lot of deuces. So that's very respectable. So he's been contributing for his team.
Who number one is in the league right now? I know Josh has like 6.
Okay, so Josh is doing very well as well. So 85%, 86% extra point. So that's going to be, those are respectable figures. I would like to see guys of that caliber. Like I know these guys are veterans and stuff. I would say these guys are probably very capable of being 90% guys. I think that is. I don't want to say that's the expectation, but the Rattlers are 89%. What's his name? Shane McInerney. It looks like he's sustained success for the extra point as well. I don't have the exact figures because I know they had other kickers kicking extra points, but let me see if I can. Do they have a figure on the extra points for specific kickers?
I could be wrong, but what I'm seeing is Massachusetts for the PATs. They're 63 of 74. But Josh he missed 2 games.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a lot of these stats are for the team. I wonder if they have the individual stats up there.
Right. And that's why I'm trying to see if there's individual stats because that would give me a better that would give me a better idea of who's doing what, because looking at the team stats. But I mean, I know that Gable is consistent with extra points, so
Yeah.
I know that he gets it done with that. And then yeah, I would say Gable, Lacayo, and then the two that I mentioned earlier, Michael Hall has done well, and then Connor Mangan has done extremely well. So those four guys right there, right now, if I were to pick out like who's my first team IFL guy that I'm picking on, like I'll go on the record and say this. Let me just look at the numbers one more time. Sorry. Um, who am I picking? If I'm looking for a first team All IFL guy right now, let's take a look here. It's got to be somebody who played like a lot of games, right? Let's see. Kicking, field goals. Leaders, field goals. Who played the most? Let's start off with games played, right? So there we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 guys who played every single game. And of those guys, the highest field goal percentage is Bryce Crawford. I think you got to give first team All IFL to Bryce Crawford. Let me see what his either Bryce Crawford. Let me see who else. Michael Hall played 8 games. I don't know if I can give first team All IFL to Michael Hall with playing 8 games. And I know that's not fair to him necessarily, but I think you have to play more games to garner that title. But if he would have played 14 games, sustaining the numbers that he did, I don't see why there's any reason why he wouldn't. But I think right now with Bryce Crawford, 11 made field goals. Can I get let me see if I can get an extra point percentage on him, because that matters too. PAT 81%. There's just no one really running away with it right now. You got some guys who've done really well with the extra point. But I think if I'm going to give it to anybody, you got to kind of give it to the guy who's played all the games and has the highest field goal percentage, I guess. So I guess you got to give it to Frisco Fighters guy. But truly, I would like to see for next season or for the playoffs, because I would like to see one guy that runs away with all the all the accolades or all the numbers. I haven't seen that. This year. There's certain guys that I know that are vets that get it done, but who knows? Maybe next year there's a guy that leads the league in field goal percentage, leads the league in kickoff percentage, leads the league in everything, and then that'll give me a better assessment to say, okay, this guy's the best kicker in the IFL. Right now, I don't think that there is a guy who's best kicker in the IFL. I think you got a lot of guys that are good, that are kind of, interchanging at different slots at different times.
I agree with you. No, but that's a great point you made. I think first team All IFL is going to tell a lot about who's moving on to the next level. And I think there's a lot of kickers in this league. I mean, Josh Gable, obviously, is someone I expect to see outdoors. Connor Megan, like you said, I mean, he played against us last week, and he was crazy. I mean, he was hitting his field goals and everything. And, for him to be that young and do that well is really impressive. But
He's doing his thing for sure.
But, Jimmy, my final question for you. It's been a great interview. I really appreciate you taking the time out. Really enjoyed having you on. My final question is, I know you do a lot with the youth. What is your biggest piece of advice for younger people? And where do you see yourself personally in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years?
Oh man, that last part, it's hard to say. Where do I see myself? I'm not really too sure. I mean, I got my business. I do want to play. I've even thought about playing soccer. Like that's also something that I've thought about doing. But truly, I don't have any concrete plans for the next year, but it's tough, man. Like I would say right now, if you're a kid and you want to let's just say specifically you want to play football or you want to be a kicker specifically, um figure out find somebody at the next level who's willing to mentor you. And I know that's easier said than done, but find somebody who knows what they're talking about and just pick their brain, and then from that point on just keep your foot on the gas. And I know that's a lot easier said than done, but find a mentor and pick their brain and definitely push that throttle.
For sure. I definitely agree. Networking is important and, learning from older people who have done it before. So, I'm wishing you the best of luck. I hope to see you out on the field soon, whether it's soccer, football, anything, man. So keep grinding, and I'll keep watching your TikTok content. I'll share that out with the video link. And, you know where to find Jimmy. He's on all social medias, but his main one is TikTok. So what's your TikTok?
It's just my name, James Bruh. All one word.
All right, so everyone go follow that. Go show that some love. Get right with Jimmy, man. He'll get you right. He'll get you where you want to get to. So keep grinding, man, and I'll see you at the top here real soon.
Hey, thank you for having me. You have a good one. We'll be in touch.
Yes, sir.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.